Hi, I'm Dennis Weiss for Eagle Communications. Welcome to our town. Sitting with Dave Dillner this morning, who's the city manager of Abilene. We're in the upstairs of the public library, which is a very cool place to shoot. If you haven't visited here in a while, you really should come in and go upstairs and look around a little bit. Great historic place, a great example of the city of Abilene and the residents thereof making a positive contribution to preservation and making things better. Very cool. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
We sat down last year and then corresponded back and forth in email a little bit, Dave, and we both feel that it's a great opportunity for the citizens of Abilene to have you in front of the camera fairly regularly. We're going to try to do this once a month if all schedules work out, but really there's a lot going on in Abilene. Most of it's good. There's always some that isn't so good, but you know, we'll leave that to Lon to talk about snow removal. But you know, we have a lot of things that are working well. In fact, snow removal this morning, I see that. What a big job those guys had in there out in the street in front of the library has already got the windrow removed from it. So the street is clear sidewalk to sidewalk. Pretty cool. But there's a lot of good stuff going on. Last time you sat with us, you talked to us about major code revision of the zoning code. That work is underway. You have been constantly engaged as a person and as city manager, both, I think, in the efforts of economic revitalization and the work to be positive about the opportunity for Abilene. So that's to set the stage a little bit. Give us a quick update on any or all of those and tell us where you are today.
Well, there are a lot of things going on, as Dennis mentioned, and one of them that I want to talk about real briefly is with respect to economic development, as many people would like to know kind of what's going on with respect to that and what the city's doing. And a couple meetings ago, the City Commission approved an amendment to what we're now calling the Abilene Revitalization Program, because there are 3 different districts, which I won't get into in too much detail now. But the amendment was focused on creating, in essence, a new downtown revitalization district, which will go into effect very shortly once the school district and the county approve of the interlocal agreement, which we anticipate will happen within the next few days. But what that will do is it will provide a 90% rebate on the incremental increase in property tax valuation on improvements to the downtown district. And very loosely, that is defined as the area between 4th Street to Buckeye with a little bit over to Kirby Street, and then down to 2nd Street over to Cedar Street, and then back up to 4th. Very loosely, of course, I don't have a map in front of me. So eligible improvements in that district would receive a 90% rebate on their incremental increase in the property tax. So what that means is if you own a building and it's valued at $100,000 and you increase that property's value to $150,000, you'll receive a 90% rebate on that $50,000 increased valuation for a 10-year period. So that's an extraordinary measure that we've taken for the downtown, because we are cognizant of the differences between downtown and other commercial districts in the community. Most particularly the historic buildings and the aging of those buildings, which amounts to a significant cost for property owners that want to fix them up.
As a level set for our viewers, Dave, I want to give a quick view of why the city's doing that, and that is because that's the tool you have.
Right.
If you want to help economic activity, your tools are really 2. It's to incentivize it through lowering taxation, or disincentivize it by raising taxation on things like that. So the city currently has taken a aggressive stance that says if you're willing to come in and invest your capital in improving our downtown area through investment, we're willing to help you do that by giving you a tax break on the dollars you invest and the resulting value. That's all city government can really do. It can either say, we like what you do, so we're going to drop your taxes a bit so you do more of it. The old rule is, what you tax, you get less of. What you lower tax on, you get more of, as the flow of goods goes through a free economy. So that's what the city can do, and you're in the path of doing it. I guess I also want to say to folks who may not be as tuned in as you and I are on how and when this process happened, to me, it's happening extraordinarily fast that a city has taken these steps, put this agenda up, got it approved, and is moving forward. In fact, I see a scaffold right across the way over there on the front of one of those historic buildings that I assure you the ownership thereof is cognizant of what we're talking about. And I think it already has driven investment. Just knowing that there was a high probability this was going to happen from the city, it has already driven investment, and there are aggressive plans to make our downtown better. So I think it's already working.
Yeah, and I think as time progresses, as you know, we get the final product approved and operational, and then we start marketing it and we start engaging with the downtown business district. The hope is that more people will take advantage of it, and that will do some things that will definitely improve the downtown district and make it more feasible for business activity to take place there. Another thing that we're going to do with respect to the downtown district, in 2010 the city commissioned a downtown streetscape plan, which was done by Olson Associates, and it kind of got shelved for a period of time. The estimated cost of that plan was about $4.7 million, and that was part of the reason why it got shelved. Well, we've since resurrected that plan, and through a very small committee, we've basically did a gut and go on it, and we're going to submit for a grant to the Kansas Department of Transportation a streetscape improvement plan that includes period lighting as well as some wayfinding signage. With the main thought behind that is we've got a lot of people that go up and down Buckeye Avenue, and so what we want to do is how do we make the downtown appealing enough that they'll come down Buckeye and ideally turn down 3rd Street and come into our downtown retail district. So that's kind of one of the things that we are going to be doing with that. And if we are awarded funds underneath that program, we'll in essence roll out phase 1, which again is the period lighting and the wayfinding signage, with the understanding that phase 2 and phase 3 and future phases will be other pieces of that plan potentially that will continue to spruce up and add appeal to that downtown district so that we can really make it more appealing for travelers coming through town to stop at our downtown and shop and get that experience.
Again, the city is doing what it can to promote the viability, the visibility, and the acceptability of downtown Abilene. It's incumbent upon the business community who lives here to respond and do their part. And if both of those things come together, you have the growth of small business. You have job growth. First you have earnings growth, then job growth, and then hopefully business growth as more people look at this downtown Abilene and say, this would be a good place for me to invest my entrepreneurial dollars, and therefore start a small business that's not here today in one of the empty buildings or upstairs of a building that's already here.
Right.
That's the way small business entrepreneurial efforts happen. And again, pointing out that I think the city's doing a great job of doing what you can to give opportunity for business to prosper. So.
Yeah, that's a good point. The city is focused on what it can do, but I think you brought up a very good point. There's two pieces to the equation, and the other side of the equation is what the private sector can do. And in a recent book that I read by Jim Clifton called The Coming Jobs War, the focus that he put on jobs, because everyone's kind of concerned about economic development, jobs, and the future prosperity of the community, is that jobs are created by the private sector. I mean, government doesn't create jobs. I think we can all agree to that. We respond to demand for services that are created by economic activity and growth. So what his equation boils down to is really three things. Cities plus entrepreneurship equals, in essence, growth or prosperity, or however you want to define that. And then there's also some innovation thrown in there as well. The point is that cities are, in essence, the best place for entrepreneurship to take place, because you have an open and free exchange of ideas, products, and services that you might not have anywhere else. For example, if you live in rural Dickinson County, it's not easy for you to transact or make transactions or meet people and engage them. But if you come to town, it's easy to get a cup of coffee with somebody, go down to the shop and buy something that you're looking for. And cities have served that role for, well, that's why cities were actually created in the first place. So that's a major framework for that. The second piece is entrepreneurship. And I think that's a main thing that we need to figure out how to promote, encourage, and build up is entrepreneurship, and how do we get people to think about taking that risk to start new business enterprises.
Haven't had the chance to read Mr. Clifton's book, but I did, after you sent me the note, read everything I could find on it that had been in a review, including clips of the highlights of Mr. Clifton's book. A couple of points on something you just said. The only reason that there are cities was first for protection. Mm-hmm. Groups got together for protection and put houses together. But as soon as it was safe to come out in the morning, the reason cities exist is for economic opportunity by people gathering together.
Right.
I just, in our world today, we seem to forget that. There isn't a reason, logical reason, that a city should be a disincentive for economic activity. It's supposed to be the other way around. So we have a choice here in Abilene on, do we want to be the anchor on the boat, or do we want to say, hey, we have a nice boat here, everybody get on and we'll take it someplace together. I'm very proud that the city of Abilene is taking the step forward and saying, we're willing to go, we're willing to help you grow, we do what we can. But we need some people with ideas about how to make sails and oars and
right.
a whole bunch of other stuff on the boat to help us go.
Well, exactly. And entrepreneurship really boils down to the people that are willing to take on risk to make a business enterprise work. And that may be that they're out there and they see, well, hey, we need this type of product or service, or hey, I can improve upon what such and such is doing, or we could really use X, Y, and Z. And those people are the ones that take that idea or that concept, and then they get the backing that they need and they roll that out. And that's really that second equation. So if the city moves forward with incentivizing and doing what we do, the programs that we have, as well as taking care of our infrastructure and making sure that we have the means to have economic activity, we definitely need the private sector to step up and do the second part of the equation so that we can have that growth that we're looking for.
The book, The Coming Jobs War, the reviews that I read and the excerpts I read seem to paint a very clear picture about, this is not talking about Abilene, it's not talking about small town America, it's not talking about large city America, it's talking about the world. As that Mr. Clifton's premise seemed to be, correct me if I'm wrong, that the desire of all people everywhere is focused now towards job, a good job. Not just economic prosperity, but it really is focusing through that to a good job. I don't know whether that's right or wrong, but I think it has great merit. I think the idea has great merit. I think that people have come to understand that economic prosperity comes from a good job. We in the business community, we clearly understand, I guess, that our good jobs are the way we get to economic prosperity. We couldn't do what we do at Eagle without being able to provide a bunch of people good jobs. And then they turn around and produce for us that economic activity that makes us a profitable company. I think it's a very good thing that people are talking about it. I really do. Books like that, discussions like this, focus people on what we need to do. And what we need to do as business community is find a way to grow our companies enough that we can continue to add new good jobs. Multiplier effect takes it from there.
Exactly. A job, in essence, is a means to an end. And the end is whatever it is that people want to do with their time. So if I want to go buy a boat because I want to spend time at the lake, I need to have a job so that I can afford the boat, so that I can then also afford the time to get to the lake. So the job and the economic prosperity, all of that boils down to the means to allow us to really exercise freedom. And if we have the means to do that, then our community will be prosperous and moving forward. So the question is, how do we get there? And I would posit that one of the things that needs to be taking place everywhere, in every board meeting, in every public meeting, in every conversation at the coffee table, is how do we as a community strive to create jobs? How do we build and promote entrepreneurial activity? And through those conversations at the coffee table and in the school board meetings and city commission meetings and management meetings for corporations throughout town, there will be ideas that will come up that may help generate an entrepreneur to take on that risk, to start that business enterprise that will get that chain going.
You know, Dave, we were in a chamber planning session this week in long-term planning. We did one last year, and from both of those sessions came the reaffirmation of the fact that the best way to prosperity from our narrow point of view, which is commerce, is to provide opportunity to assist existing businesses find a way to grow. I was very pleased when you had the public sessions about a year ago, not long after we had done our private work over here on our own plan. But I sat in those meetings and contributed some, but the public rose up and said exactly the same thing. If we want to grow economic opportunity here in our town, we need to look at what's here and what their needs are. I look back, and we've said this on tape before, but reconstructing First Street was partially as a result of not only did it need fixed, because you could tell by looking at it, but it's a corridor for a lot of dollars flowing into our community, and they're hauled in tractor trailers.
Right.
So again, doing what you can as a city to promote economic activity meant infrastructure on that project. Well, as we look around the community, we're seeking people to come to whomever is interested, to your office or mine or wherever they see us on the street, or other people. But there's a lot of groups right now working on economic opportunity. And what that means is not a power struggle for who's going to be the economic guru. It's that we're all interested in growing together. And so you can hardly go wrong by finding somebody to say, here's what I need at my business. Here's an idea I have. Do you know anybody that can help me with this? I think that's the next step for us. Simply having an idea, asking the question, and see who can come together to make that work.
Well, that's a very good point. So when you talk about economic development, one of the most obvious answers is to look locally. And what I mean by that is not necessarily shop local, but what I mean is if you're a business in town and you have a major supplier that provides a lot of your stuff, but they're not located locally, maybe they're located in Minnesota, for example, reaching out to them and saying, hey, we could cut our costs if you guys set up a shop in Abilene, and selling Abilene as part of your business endeavors as well. Because if you do the math and, hey, I can save a lot of money if I can convince them to locate a shop here in Abilene, not only does it benefit you, but it benefits the entire economy of Abilene. So those are some things from a local perspective that we want to try to reach out and promote. But there's so many other opportunities that are out there that we need to get kind of out there and get people thinking about and talking about, because ideas eventually will lead to enterprises that will produce opportunity.
I have a sister that's a few years older than me who was the CEO of a hospital in Northwest Arkansas. He retired a couple of years ago. Her story about Northwest Arkansas, I keep trying to get her to let me come bring a camera in, because it's so inspirational. But a lot of people don't like Walmart, but Walmart is the story in Northwest Arkansas. And what you just said about how to reach out is what Walmart did in Northwest Arkansas. They said, we're glad to buy your products and services, but if you want to sell to us, you'll put a sales division in Northwest Arkansas where our buyers can look you in the eye and do business with you and shake your hand and make a deal. It was transformational to the entire region. People moved from New York, from California, from all over the world, and built infrastructure in Northwest Arkansas based on one simple premise, and that was Walmart said, we'd rather do business with people we know than people we don't. And we can reduce our costs by having you across the street versus across the continent. The investment into the local community that came out of that, it's beyond our scope to probably relay to people via a camera. It's just unbelievable what Northwest Arkansas became because of a commitment to it by a single company that said, if you want to do business with us, you've got to invest here. Big deal.
Yes.
Okay, we've into wrap-up time. Dave, you're going to come once a month as long as humanly possible. There's a lot of things going on in Abilene, and they're very good. But we are looking for you, Mr. Entrepreneur, to walk up to us and say, I have an idea and I want to help grow my business my way, but I might need your help. We really have a lot of opportunities in Abilene on committees and in work groups that are actually doing some things that are very positive, but we really need you, or we need somebody you know. We're here to grow jobs, we're here to grow opportunity, we're here to build things in Abilene and make our town a great place to be, right?
That's right.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
We'll see you next month.
Sounds good.
Folks, thanks for watching. For Eagle Communications, I'm Dennis Weese.